Thank you all for coming. Seeing time being 6:13, I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll start with the secretary's report, but we don't have, did everyone see the secretary's report? Yeah. Now, can we actually approve that or do we have to wait until next?
Not everyone received a copy.
I did, I read it, I didn't print it.
If everyone received a copy, we could.
Yeah.
Everyone see it?
Yeah. Any questions on the? No.
No.
I get a motion to approve the secretary.
I move it.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The secretary's report is approved. Treasurer's report, Al's not here. Gail for OBTA.
Okay. The OBTA annual breakfast meeting is scheduled for June 4th at 8:00 a.m. in the Riano Club Seaview Room. Barnstable Town Manager Mark Ells will be our guest speaker. Election of officers and steering committee members will take place, as well as the announcement of the winner of the OBTA scholarship. Notices of this meeting have been sent out. Plans are being made for Village Day to be held on Saturday, July 20th. We have received permission from the town to hold our parade. This being the 50th anniversary of Village Day, the theme of the parade is solid goals. We received a grant of $500 from the Barnstable Tourism Fund for the printing of our Osterville directory and map, which is now available in all the businesses. Extra copies are available at the Osterville package store for any large gatherings. If you have any big group you know about, come in and pick up a batch of the brochures. Our spring cocktail party will be held at the chat room at Crosby Boatyard on Tuesday, May 14th from 5 to 7. Sponsors are E.J. Jacksteimer Builder and E.J. Jacksteimer Landscaping. Invitations are in the mail. It's my report.
Thank you, Gail. John's closed not here, so my town council's report. Mark Curley and the nominating committee, a few words.
The nominating committee is back active. We've got some interested parties. We welcome any more interested parties to sit on the board. And the nominating committee will be meeting in the next couple of weeks and be presenting interested or candidates to the full board in the June meeting.
Do we have any openings?
We do. We had one resignation come through today. So we'll be filling that slot, and then we're gonna discuss maybe a change in the number of the board, just so that we can get a quorum more often. Because the board being at 17 makes it tough to get that 9. So we're just gonna have that open for discussion as well. And then the votes will take place at the annual meeting.
We should also have a discussion about chronic absenteeism.
Correct. That'll also be part of the discussion, right? So we can present that at the June meeting to the full board. Hopefully we get a full board.
Yeah. No, we'll just bring it up as far as on to people who be here for that. That's important.
And is the 6 o'clock time, you think, a challenge?
It's not 50-50, but we've been talking about that. We changed it, 3 months ago? Yeah. And some people like it, some people don't like it. It's, we can even talk about that right now, the discussion.
I haven't heard from anybody that's not here about it. I think it's nice at 6, but especially in the winter.
Works.
Yeah.
Do you folks have any opinion on the time of these meetings? Is it better an hour earlier, an hour later?
6 is better than 7, I think. Yeah, I think so.
I agree. I think
We should go halfway,
stick
6:30.
with six.
Yeah. That's a possibility. Probably keep it at 6 until.
And Mark, going back to changing the number of members on the OBA, maybe we should wait to see how many candidates we have.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there might be enough interested candidates where we can keep the number where it is.
Yeah, I think some people this is just my opinion, not an official opinion, but I think some people are hanging on the board that can't make enough meetings that might feel that they shouldn't be on the board. So I think we should have that conversation with them because there might be, we don't want too many openings, but there might be a few that have been hanging around hoping they can help to.
Well, I see a lot of familiar faces that come to all of our meetings, and yet they're not on the board, so.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Maybe, some of them will be happy to apply.
Yeah.
If they have.
We've got 2 very, very interested candidates.
Great, thanks, Mark. You have to.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to have a school meeting, so appreciate it.
Appreciate your input.
Here come 3 more people. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All business, maybe Jen, you can comment on, there was a meeting this week at the library regarding the playground. It's in full gear moving forward, which is great. Can you maybe give us an update on?
Yes, I think, great meeting with, our playground committee, John Crow, Peter there, as well as, members of the community and the town staff, both the town architect and, planning and recreation, were there. And, we are working on final design options, and I think, some budget numbers coming back to us, but we are full steam ahead. The goal is to keep it going, keep it moving. And I think we have a great group of folks who are focused on that. So stay tuned. I would expect we would hear back in the next week or so in terms of, from Mark Marinaccio, in terms of budget,
Right.
with sort of an estimate on 2 versions of things that we're looking at. But I think the great news is that we're moving forward. And again, this playground will be ADA accessible. It's the only playground in the town of Barnstable, according to our Barnstable folks, that will offer shade, which I think is significant. And based on the size of the playground area, it is the largest playground that will be in the town of Barnstable. So great for Osterville, great for the town.
Yeah.
And we're pushing it forward to keep it going.
That's great. Diane, I know you're on the committee. Would you have
Oh my
any-
gosh, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
This way.
No,
Yeah.
no. She said it all.
Any comments on that?
No, I just think the committee is really working together to move it forward. So there wasn't any drawbacks or anything. I think we're.
Yeah. What was, maybe I missed it, but they want to do like a concept drawing, is that kind of so people can understand? A little confusing, the 1 and 2, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think they're gonna do a, so essentially we had 2, finalists, for lack of a better word. And, the rendition of those 2 final looks, and they're not final, I'm using that word in quotes, differed. So that one version of the playground was on one, single color surface. And another version of the playground was on a much more dynamic, colorful surface. So it was hard to look at the 2 images and compare them, because I think your eye was drawn to the fact that one of them just had a plain, surface. And the other little piece to the puzzle is that none of the colors represented there are actually the color palette that the committee worked on. So the colors aren't even represented in the sample. So we had a couple of things going on there. So we're looking at getting, budget numbers, and, I think the committee will be looking at that, and then that'll sort of inform those 2 designs. And then obviously when we get to the point, it'll be open up to, a larger group to take a look at everything and have feedback from the community here in Osterville, and then, from the town, as well, entire town of Barnstable. And it'll be available on the website, and we'll have, flyers. We also talked about, members of the committee will be going around and checking in with the neighbors as well, because I think it's just so important that everybody's connected to it, yeah.
What's the estimated time?
Estimated time, if everything goes smoothly from this point forward, we are looking at November of 2025. November of 2025. It could be a little sooner than that, because things could come together much faster. And this is based on the latest estimate from the town. And it involves all sorts of pieces, coming together. It could be much sooner, it could be a little sooner than that, or we could be right on target with that, because if you can imagine any kind of weather delays, if we get, torrential rainstorms or snow, or, whatever could impact, all of that. So,
And that will also be determined though from the feedback that we get in the meetings, because meetings will be held so
absolutely.
that it will be open to everybody to comment on the 2 different designs that we have. And if we wind up with a lot of changes, then that will obviously slow the process down a bit.
Yes, because with each one of those changes, the playground consultant comes into play to look at if pieces of equipment move or, whatever the case may be, the safety radius and zone and the fall area for those pieces of equipment, ensure that we're within all safety guidelines.
I know 2025 sounds like 2025, considering when did this start?
Oh my God.
I know.
2008.
My grandchildren were little.
2008.
They're all- They haven't now graduated college, so.
You can see the finish line.
Yeah, so Jack, who's now 15 and a half, my son, I remember sitting at the old playground with him on my lap while my 3 and 4-year-old little girls were playing. And that was the last time I went to the old playground because there were too many, there was just, you have bottle caps and glass and stuff on the ground. So I thought maybe Jack would see the playground, but nope. Well, I will see the playground. I will see the playground. I'll be the first on those swings. So stay tuned, stay tuned.
Will there be a walking area?
Yeah,
Is there a walking?
they're modified, well, that was one of the designs, but, yeah, it's very impressive. It'll be online, they'll have displays downstairs. It's worth the wait, I'll say that, as far as for what's gonna be happening there, first class, everything's first
Yeah, I
class.
think it's really dynamic.
Yeah.
In the very end, we will have, refillable water bottle station. We have picnic tables where people can sit and, just meet and watch the kids. Shaded areas and really interactive things, including beautiful musical elements. To add to the art of play for all these kids of all ages. So I look forward to the day we do the groundbreaking and I hope everybody joins me on swings.
That's gonna be great. Part of old business too, and maybe you can comment briefly on that was it a couple weeks ago, CP,
Yes,
and people were I think we're frustrated, there weren't a lot of questions to be asked, that's some of the general feedback that I got in the book, but I think we can agree that there wasn't a lot of feedback on that. What they were being asked was kind of confusing.
right.
So that, without going into it too much, what's the next step as far as, again, everyone's, Osterville is gonna be Osterville.
Yes.
Kind of the theme that we,
Totally agree.
so what happens, I know you went to Hyannis, went to all the different towns,
Yes,
turnout was, I think Osterville had the biggest turnout.
I think Osterville had the biggest turnout. Hyannis was also pretty close. I was at Hyannis and West Barnstable. But I think that, and it's great to see so many new faces at all these meetings. I think just what everybody was talking about and people that I talked to in the audience afterwards, send those comments in. If the questions don't pertain to exactly the wording that I think we're all in the same boat. That we all really want to preserve everything that we've done about this village. Everything from our beautiful down, village business area with the small businesses to our residential areas, to our beautiful beaches and ponds. That was one thing we didn't talk about, specifically with the ponds and the quality of the water, for those ponds, all of that. And I'm the first one who will be, not only preserving what we love about Osterville, but, celebrating that beautiful history of this village and all the families who made it what it is today. I mean, I think that's really what it's all about.
It still seems like if they're trying to do a blanket for the town of Boston, I still get, and I talk to people talk to me, and that's the feedback that
Right.
it's like, why are they trying to do a blanket to not do the individual towns?
Right.
So that's something, that's why I was asking, like, what's the next? People still have a lot of questions.
Yes,
Most of the things were kind of a little disappointing, if I don't mind saying, that's my opinion.
yes.
And there weren't a lot of feedback, so let's see, you got some information, people wrote out some things on the board. Where do
So,
we go with that, like, what's the next?
a couple things. We have, the next LCPC meeting is on Thursday at Town Hall at 5:30. We have, 2 meetings every, at least 2 meetings every month. And, there's always a chance to comment there. I have heard, although I don't have a date or any specifics on this, but I did hear that at some point there may be just an open comment session where the entire meeting will be open commentary. I haven't heard specific details on that, but I did hear that as an idea. So as soon as I find out about that, I'll certainly share. And I think that for a lot of people, having that open discussion is a better forum than having the post-its that we put on the boards, right?
Definitely.
That having that interaction and discussion really helps a lot. And a couple of the meetings, the real focus was to get all those ideas on those boards and thoughts and comments, and we got lots of feedback from that. But a couple of those meetings did morph into a little bit more of a discussion. I would say the Hyannis one, in particular, turned into more of a discussion, a little bit more, with the addition of the boards and feedback, the sticky notes, and the same thing that we had here. But you'll see more of that. This is not the end. I've heard that we have at least another 2 years in this process. And somebody actually said it will this will not be the last time that you hear from us. And again, I'm always at the museum. I'm more than happy. Come on over and see me whenever my Blue Beetle is over at the museum. I'm there. But happy to talk with anybody. And as I said, the next meeting is Thursday at 5:30. So come on over. It's quite a process of learning about all the intricacies. And a lot of what you're saying, I think, a lot of what we hear may pertain to Hyannis as an area versus Osterville as an area. And I think that isn't always clear. And, but I think we are all clear about what we love about this village. So.
I'd like to get a little feedback. I know you were the active Stacy. Just, it's not about comment, but just, I like to, while we're talking about it, we get a little bit of feedback.
I was there. I thought you guys put so much work into it, and
Yeah.
I really appreciated that. I did notice, and I made this comment, that if we were asked to put sticky notes or dots, and some of the groupings of questions, I mean, I could have said agree with one of them, but I didn't want to agree with the other two, and that created the kind of the confusion, if you may, and there was just a little bit of vagueness to some of the questions, and I don't mean that to be too negative here, but they were too vague, and the feedback was from the room that they wanted more specific things, specific to Osterville, and that wasn't presented really in the general, and I get why, because you're going to every single village with kind of the same presentation, but
I think that, and you're right on point with those. I think that from the folks who were planning those outreach, it was more, they were here to get all of your feedback. And I think from the audience's perspective, it would have been more helpful to hear more from them for a presentation rather than, okay, here we are, here's the introduction, let's go to the sticky notes, right?
right,
Yes, I get it.
yes. Yeah, people were kind of like, whoa, when they heard that.
Right.
Well, we want to keep talking, we want to hear what other people have to say,
Exactly.
not go to the boards and.
Put the dots on whatever, like maybe half a
Yeah.
dot or something, and you
Yeah,
halfway agree with it. So yeah, it's a little different of a presentation style certainly.
right,
And it was intended, I think their goal was to really absorb everything that people had to say through the notes and through writing on those boards. But I think if we flipped it around and done the opposite, we might have gotten more feedback and more interaction from it, which would be helpful. So
Yeah.
that will be a note for our next presentation. How's that?
So for saying that, for Osterville, do we have a date yet, or is it, you're taking that information and process it? Like,
Yeah.
what's for this group of the OBA, or when you guys come back?
Right. I think it's always an open comment period because it's always been comment through the website or by talking to anyone of us for going to meetings. For these chapters, The open comment period is through, I believe, May 16th. And, at that point, they will gather all of the comments and feedback and summarize that. And so we'll have a summary, report probably, I would say at one of the early June meetings, we should have feedback.
For each village, like in the middle, so Osterville.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. And I'm happy to bring that back to
Yeah.
the OVA meeting
Yeah, if we could.
and, happy to do a, OVA LCPC
Yeah.
style,
So
something.
that'll be
If
good.
that's helpful, because I think that, it really is, care of all the faces of Osterville and the village, and that matters. And,
Yeah, definitely. Hackett, do you have any comment on?
No, I just would echo what Stacy said, that, the statement was made to the group, we want to hear from you, but they didn't want to hear people ask questions or speak, they wanted people to follow this
You wanna
format
see
with
your
these
record.
sticky doc. And I think whatever consultant sold that process to the town, I think you ought to fire that consultant. But just go back to public hearings where people are asked to speak up
Right.
and the people on the committee take notes as to the people's preferences.
Yeah, I've talked with a lot of people recently. I wasn't able to attend. I had a conflict that night. But I also am thinking this is the second kind of failure to launch, in my opinion, of a process that they imposed upon a group of people who wanted to ask questions and wanted to talk. The first was a SWOT analysis. I remember it being 9 o'clock and they were still on S,
Right,
it was
right.
like, that was a nightmare that night.
Right,
And then I heard about the sticky note thing, and I'm like, what are they thinking? So
right.
I think they gotta do exactly what Hector's suggesting, which is talk to the people
Right.
and, forget these kind of crazy schemes, to get feedback. Just
Right.
talk to people and record it.
And really advertise that meeting somehow, maybe send out a mailing for all the membership,
Right.
the OVA membership, that would be great, just so that people are aware.
If it were like that, you'd have a full house here.
We will do that.
Yeah.
That was good.
Bob, I don't know if you have any comment?
Whatever it says.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jen. That's it's not to criticize, just that have to go in that direction.
Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely. And that's what it is all about. I mean, this is for all of you. It's for all of us who live and love Osterville and this village and wanting to preserve everything that we love about the village. No question at all. And that's
Usually when there's a poster, situation for, as a teacher, that's kind of the professional development, there'd be one question at the top, and you would have an idea to post on that poster, not some other ideas that you have to decide and discern whether that you approve or disapproved of. So I think the way that they had that was just too confusing and
Yeah, what's the-
this is too
I agree.
broad.
I think for some of the meetings that we have at town hall, if we do have those large posters, and I find them to be not so user friendly from a teacher's perspective here, that is the least,
It's not the most helpful.
it's a very passive teaching aid to, they go to the, and write your, sticky note. I personally am much more interactive kind of person, and I appreciate that feedback and response and exchange of ideas. I think that's more of a winning
They
strategy
used to cringe when they saw it.
in life. But it's some of the meetings that we are taken, we break up into smaller groups, for our committee meetings and go to the posters, and in a group, we tackle all the writing. There's a lot of writing, a lot of text, a lot of reading. It really is like having a master class on all these issues, that are important to the town. And that people have brought up as issues to deal with. But stay tuned. I think we'll have another go round certainly, and many more go rounds. So we'll be like, oh my gosh, the LCPC is back
How many more
again.
chapters? Two?
I think there are 3 more.
3 more?
Towards the end is the historic preservation, cultural preservation. So I'm looking forward to that one, and I know that we will go back to the land use chapter which is what we just, went through. Because everything is so intricately involved, you have to, go back.
Nice, Jen.
Thank you.
On new business, just first of all, the next
Before
meeting.
you go
Yeah.
there, Peter, I'd just like to, just like what I mentioned to you before the meeting. We had a session, I don't know, a while back. And I think there was agreement that we should have the D&O insurance.
Right.
And it's just kind of, I don't know, it's slipped between the cracks.
No, you're right.
I would like to have that reactivated and implemented.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a liability insurance policy for directors of the museum, and
We
they
talked,
shared that.
about that.
Yeah, let me,
Yeah, who was brought up on our,
so,
was Heather or someone admitted it?
Heather did, this was last summer, and, of course, all the insurance policies have gone up in price. I think our directors and officers, liability is, I'm gonna guess around 1,300 for a premium.
Yeah.
And I'll email you all that, yeah.
The content.
Yeah.
Okay. That's real important, that did kind of fall off the radar.
Well, I was talking to Cindy Cotton before the meeting and she said, she's on her condo board of 8 units and they have it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just something that you have to have.
yeah, you're an attorney, so you know, obviously, right? Front and center.
Well, I know that everybody sues everybody else.
No, we'll get that going, but if you could send that.
Yes,
to the
yes.
museum.
Peter, do we have any update on the scholarship? Is Chuck working on it?
I thought it'd be, yeah, I'll find out, Gail, on that. I don't know, to be honest with you.
Because last year, we
Yeah.
didn't find out about it till like 2 days before the annual meeting, and
Yeah.
so it's,
Yeah, I'll email him tomorrow.
And usually I think our committee meets to review application
Right.
about this time,
Yeah,
and we haven't done that.
yeah, he usually has,
I don't know if he has any applications yet.
yeah, there's been like, only like 2 last year or something, right? Or-
Yeah,
Well,
but,
I'll find out.
I know they like to know at the high school
Oh, sure,
who
Yeah.
we're awarding it to,
right,
and,
not the day before, right?
yeah.
I think we have one application at least received, so there's someone.
All right, that's good. And a major announcement today, Suzanne Conley got a hole in one today.
Yeah, I almost fainted. My friend is a physician. She was on adjacent green. She said, I thought I was gonna have to run over there and resuscitate.
Where was it?
I was at Old Barney on number 15.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael, good deal.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Pete.
Great show.
What's she gonna say?
Yeah, oh my.
You should have shared that with us down at Wimpy's.
I just heard about it. Any other comments? Maybe Suzanne, a little bit of an update on Dowses Beach, anything?
I'm not sure there's anything
Anything new?
new.
Yeah.
We are talking all the time about different approaches we might take to forestall them. We hang very much on the statement by the town council that they will not be talking to Avangrid about Dowses. They do not want Avangrid to go into Dowses. That's still the town's position. And we're hoping that Article 97 will preserve Dowses Beach from this construction. We're very cognizant, though, of the fact that the Commission on Energy Infrastructure Siting and Permitting, which Maura Healy established in September, made some recommendations to her about legislation that would make infrastructure siting and permitting much different than it is now. And the towns and cities would have to produce what they call a consolidated permit. So rather than going to conservation, recreation, town council, and so forth, the developer just goes to the town and says, give us all these easements in one fell swoop. And the commission has recommended that the towns and cities have 12 months to say yes or will say yes. That's kind of the gist of it. So it's kind of a there's this great big push for a renewable energy infrastructure that not all of us agree is being done in a correct, a good way for the people of the Commonwealth, and certainly not here in Osterville. So, I think hope springs eternal.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, we're gonna be doing something here July 15th
Yeah.
at 4 o'clock. A state Downs meeting combined with a mini version of the conference we had in Hyannis. We'll have snippets of the speakers. And, so those that couldn't attend that meeting in January can at least see the speakers with people in the room. And, we hope to, we haven't talked to Gail yet, but we hope to be in the parade again. We hope to be in the parade again this year, but we haven't talked with you about it yet. So we haven't asked permission yet. That did come up.
Solid gold.
That's solid gold.
Solid gold.
Maybe we'll do it.
Exactly.
Dels's Beach is
You
solid
say
gold.
that's 4 o'clock.
That's a good one.
It's 4 o'clock, yeah, we're
Yeah.
starting it a little earlier so that in case we get tuck somebody, in case.
That will be here.
Yeah,
We'll be here in this room.
we call it Summit Light because, of course, we taped it. And what I did was I extracted all of the speakers, presentations, and we'll be showing those. So it won't take the thing went on for quite a while, but we'll show all of the presentations and then we'll have time for dialogue after we show all the presentations. So if you couldn't make the January 27th thing, I think this would be really good. And we also want to bring the summer people in.
Yeah. That's
Um,
important.
There's many of the people on our distribution list that are, summer residents, and they're very, very concerned about this. So,
Yeah, and then we will be at the beach, we'll be in the village this summer with our petition and our little table up for talking points. We'll be posting those on Facebook so people know when we're gonna be there. If they wanna get updates, like I'll be there most of the time with someone else ideally. And, cause people wanna know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's a good way of like 2 hours on a weekend, like Saturday morning, show up, be at the beach with all the people. So, yeah.
and in other news, we have an upcoming meeting with our law firm, a couple of Fridays from now, just to strategize. It's Senny and Company in Brewster. And they're a good Cape Cod law firm, and we don't have a lot of money to pay them, that's why we haven't used them that much, but we are going to sit down with them in 2 Fridays from now. And then one other point on the state. I got an email today from this infrastructure committee that I'm on,
yeah,
that meets every week at the county headquarters. And the email made reference to a new bill introduced by Healy that will involve a lot of spending on infrastructure. And I'm thinking that I didn't click on the link yet, but
Could you share the link?
yeah, I'll send it to you, but I think that may have some
It's all.
bearing on what the state is planning to do with home rule and local zoning and permitting changes to allow wind developers to bring their infrastructure into communities with less hassle.
That's, they really resent the opposition from communities, not only here on the Cape, but in Western Massachusetts, the solar arrays are causing an awful lot of upset. Because they're really taking farmland and woodland and just, taking it over and putting massive solar arrays up. So that's the issue up there. I just, not to get too far afield, but Craigville is still hanging by a thread. Basically, the home rule petition went up for Article 97 for Craigville, passed in the legislature, which gives the town council permission to authorize alternate use of Craigville Beach, which we think is a massive mistake. That is a major component to attract the tourists to Barnstable. And, there's no doubt in our mind that they would have to put, I have to remember to use the future conditional. They would have to put signs up saying caution, high voltage underground cables buried here. And in my opinion, not a lot of people will be too happy to bring their children and grandchildren to the beaches when that happens, if that happens, and we're trying to stop it. But as of right now, the town has not signed that final easement to authorize alternate use for Craigville Beach under Article 97. What I worry about is the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs she owns the policy that administers Article 97 of the Constitution. And because on her website, it says, new policy forthcoming. And I'm afraid that she's going to try to subsume Article 97 into this combination permit for, instead of letting the town council vote on it. And I believe that would be a constitutional high jump. And it's one of the things we'll be talking about with the Senate law firm, see if there's a constitutional argument to prevent that sort of movement by the state. So, yes. Oh, yeah, well, they always listen.
Yeah.
I think they tap my phone. Just joking out of it. So. Anyway, that's the state of affairs, and we fight on, and we meet here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. So if any of you are interested in joining us and, sharing your thoughts, we'd appreciate it.
This will be a multi-year fight,
Yeah.
especially the Dowses project. And we feel pretty good that people are up in arms about Dowses, as they should have been about Cohoes and Craigville. But we're planning to continue the fight. I thought I was gonna be retired, but.
Little did you know.
Well,
No. Appreciate all your efforts.
Yeah, if anyone wants to drive up to Jenkins Bog in West Barnstable, you'll see the Mid-Cape Reliability Project and how they're expanding, they've expanded the facility up there. I guess that's what I put it. It's unbelievable. Drive up and see it. And then right down the road is where they want to site the substation for it's no longer called Commonwealth Inn, by the way, it's New England too.
Yeah.
But right down the road is where they want to site the substation for that, which is, could be up to 28 acres, but, they say they have the right for 28 acres if they get this project.
28 acres is 3 or 4 acres more than the Kmart shopping plaza.
Yeah, they say they won't use all of it. Don't
It's
worry,
green
don't worry.
space.
Go watch
It's
it
green
have all of it.
space, it's gonna be a substation.
We'll leave some of the trees as well. But drive to Jenkins Bog, you'll see, Representative Exaros drove a group of people. I hopped in the car to help them. It was a long story how this happened, but he brought some people that were here visiting from out of town
For the rally at
to
Craigville.
show them like what was going on in Barnstable and what people, aren't really aware of and just should see what's going on there.
Steve has really gotten on board with trying to stop this in Barnstable, which is great.
And part of it is, of course, in his district. The
Yeah, the
substation.
substations. And, Pete will attest, the substation for New England Wind 2 is right on top of the apple farm.
Mhm.
And we've made the argument, they say, well, the dielectric fluid leaks, our bathtub will catch it, but if there's an explosion or a fire at that substation, the mechanism in place to catch the dielectric fluid and prevent it from going into the aquifer would fail. And an expert has testified to that, not me, but someone who really understands all this. And there are many catastrophic scenarios like, delivery, a spill during delivery, by a tanker truck, swapping it out, explosion, fire. So it's not just that, we have a containment system. Well, that's great, but there are scenarios where the containment system would not be adequate to save our drinking water. And that's one of our main arguments, our drinking water. We have a lot of arguments, the Osterville Village Retail Center being another main argument. I can't even imagine what it would do to that beautiful little retail center.
You can't even imagine that.
No.
And on the spill, I mean, obviously I've been a, you know, advocate for, I think it's crazy what they want to do with the substations, but that was it 10 years ago, Cape Cod Potato Chip had, with less than 30 gallons of cleaning fluid. They
It was
shut,
like 7 or
yeah,
something.
they shut down two wells for years.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's with that small amount,
Right.
you know, so, hopefully, hopefully that, we just have to fight on that.
Yeah, our argument has been, if you need to bring infrastructure in, put it where the infrastructure already exists.
Right.
In other words, if you need to upgrade infrastructure, you know, replace these aging plants and use your rights of way. They don't want to hear it. They want to do the cheapest, fastest thing they can possibly do. And, you know, no matter what it does to our village and our way of life and our state health and safety. I just get going. Sorry.
It's a call for Susie.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard about the plan to, close Cape Cod Country Club in Falmouth
Yes,
and turn it into a solar.
and turn into a solar farm. That's a beautiful historic
Beautiful
golf course. Bobby Jones golfed there, people like that,
It's really
even
sad. They
earlier.
have members too, they have plenty of members.
Oh, they have plenty of members. Falmouth is being so short-sighted about that. It's such a gorgeous course, and it's going to be a solar array farm.
Wow,
Real.
how far along is that? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I think there are people in Falmouth opposing it, but they can't do anything like that in Barnstable, I think. I'm on the town's golf committee, and Hyannis, of course, you know about the problem at Hyannis, the clubhouse was ruined. The aquifer is so high there. That's another reason that all that territory, the aquifer is so high. You know, you can't build on that golf course. That's why it's still a golf course, right? But you can put massive substations on it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
People don't realize how many little ponds there are, like in a row back there.
Exactly,
You
yeah,
just don't think of it.
yeah.
That's, a lot of them are not visible.
And the one at the Knights Inn site, that's at the highest point of the largest watershed in most of Cape Cod. So that's, you know, all flows into Waquacket. Waquacket flows into the Centerville River eventually. A number of ponds and streams do, and then it all flows into East Bay. So that's the nature of that watershed. And, you know, to contaminate that watershed would kill all the wildlife in East Bay and on the immediate offshore area. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Can't even imagine the catastrophe that.
I know.
I really appreciate everything, Suzanne.
Sure.
Everyone that's
Yeah.
fighting on that, so.
You too.
Can I just say one more thing? So, because a lot of our friends from Save Dowses Beach are here. You've done an incredible job getting the word out of all the issues and the challenges by that project. And I would just like to say that both the Cape Cod Commission Regional Housing Strategy and the local comprehensive plan are equally important to the future of the town. And yet I was not able to attend the Osterville meeting, so I can't comment on what happened there, but we're all saying that so few people are attending these. And it's just really concerning, and I'm wondering if somehow we can mirror your efforts to make the people in the town, not just Osterville, but Tuit and Centerville, et cetera, more aware of the things that are actually being proposed in these strategies, like, you know, converting single-family homes to multifamily housing, allowing cottage colonies, allowing future multi-use development where it doesn't exist right now. And all of these are part of these plans, but they haven't indicated yet where. We haven't seen the map, so we're really kind of still in the dark about a lot of this. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I've missed, you know, maybe 10% of the OVA meetings over the last 10 years or however long, but I've never heard one person in any meeting complain about, you know, single-use development, single-family housing. Never heard anybody complain about it. Well, so why is it such a target?
It is a target.
I think people lose sight of the fact of what makes these villages like Osterville and Seminole and Katuitt Special. I'm also a member of the Katuitt Civic Association because I've been the Katuitt Boy Scout leader for 15 years, so I try to stay in tune with what's going on there. I don't claim to go to all their meetings, but I do sit in on some things at Freedom Hall in Katuitt now and then. And of course, I stay in tune with folks' fights in Seminole too. And it's a common theme that people come here because these villages are what they are.
Yeah.
And the people in the villages are who they are. And these things, whether it's the wind farms or these two strategies, could have a major impact on our future way of lives.
Yeah.
And as, Pete and I were born and raised here, we like to think that we played some small role in getting these communities to where they are. Our ancestors did as well. And yet, these strategies are being created by people who aren't from our village. And they're not really asking for our opinions as much as they could be.
Yeah.
And Jen was very encouraging in her comments by saying, they're trying to change the way that we have these discussions, but I will tell you that the drafts are out there already.
Yeah.
And personally, I haven't really seen a lot of our feelings and comments about preserving the community translated into these documents yet. So if there was some way for us to mirror how successful you've been so far with Safe Houses Beach and apply it to improve communication with the Cape Cod Commission and the town of Osterville on these strategies, I think it would be better for everybody, including the people creating.
I think the best argument is to look at the tax base of the town of Barnstable and see what percentage of that tax base emanates from Osterville. And when you remind people of that, you remind people of why that's the case. It's close to 25%, correct?
It's 35%.
35% of the tax base emanates from Osterville. And the folks who own the big houses, they like it here because of the retail center, because of Dowses Beach, because of the ambience of living in this particular village. And we have said all along, there's no proof of this, but we are worried about property values. And I know that the people on Wayano are very worried about their property values. Who wants 1,200 extra high voltage, 1,200 megawatts of power running right in front of your house? People are going to balk. And, that's another point we've made all along. This is destructive of this village. And there are folks out there, those Osterville NIMBYists, right? Well, it's not about that. It's not about that. So, I take a hard look at who contributes to the tax base of this town.
The French have an old saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. But when I read these drafts, I don't see that.
No,
I don't see it at all.
I see an attempt to homogenize the villages, and I don't know why.
Barnstable is not, it is one town with 7 unique special villages.
Yeah.
And it should be our goal as a village association, along with our friends in Katuitt and Centerville and all the other villages, to try to maintain that.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes Barnstable special.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are a lot of folks that are in town government who weren't necessarily born and raised here, and who went to school to study development economics at other universities, in other parts of the country, and really don't have the same attachment to the communities that we have. And I'm not, knocking anyone who, wasn't born a native here or anything like that, because everyone contributes equally to the success of the community. But I would like to see us be able to better grasp what makes each individual village special and unique, and try to continue to maintain that while recognizing that, change is inevitable. But we should be able
To
to
control.
control our own destiny versus having others,
Yeah, I know.
versus having others dictate to us. That's right.
I think you thought it started at 7.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, that was great. Which kind of mirrors what we've been talking about, so, that.
You know what, I think I'll jump in for 2 seconds, just because everybody on that LCPC represents our villages. And from the very beginning, from the get-go, we said that exact same thing, that we represent these villages, that each one of our villages has such a unique and special character to it. And that all of those villages combined make what we love about the town of Barnstable. And nobody on the LCPC wants to change their individual villages. We want to represent and preserve and maintain what we all love about this
Who makes
place.
the final decision?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what happens with the, actually, all of you do, because all of your feedback that is going into those chapters, that's how they are written. There is a consultant who pulls all that feedback together. But it's all open, it's all available to edit and send in your suggestions. As I have edits and suggestions and some of the things I've been reading. And it's a completely open process. And what happens, I believe, at the end of this process, and again, we have another 2+ years to go on, so you'll see more and more meetings where these chapters or drafts of chapters are going out for public review and comment and feedback. I believe then the local comprehensive plan, I believe, goes to, and I'm trying to remember correctly the words from Wendy Norcross, who's our chair. I believe it goes to the planning board for them to look at, and then the final say is our town council. That this local comprehensive plan has no legislative teeth to it. It's something that is just a strategic guide based on all the feedback from residents of the town of Barnstable, and that it will be, that it would be used as a planning tool or an advisory tool, but it doesn't have any,
It's not a mandate.
it's not a mandate. And, it does have to be, or the final process is that the town council, looks at it and votes upon it. And at any stage in that point, I believe, any one of those groups could say, oh, we're doing something, let's take a look at it again. So there is that process involved.
Can I ask you
To that
something?
end, so what I would like to say is, and I know that our friends from Save Dow's Beach spend countless hours reading regulations and drafts and things, so I think what I'd like to suggest is that some members of the OVA put together maybe a summarized draft of some of the things that are already in the LCP that people can take home with them at the next meeting. So you can see in black and white some of the things that strategies that are already in the document. I wish that I had the time to apply to be on that committee, but I couldn't do it, personally or professionally. And to me, it's still too bad that there are people who should be serving on that committee who are blocked from participating in it, because I think they really would have brought a lot to the table. But be that as it may, thankfully we have Jen on the committee to represent us. But what I would say is that I think having a document that summarizes where we are to this point will be helpful to people who attend OVA meetings on a regular basis.
Do you mean a document summarizing what would affect Osterville?
Just, they have published drafts of strategies.
Yeah,
already. I don't think enough people are aware of them. They're kind of lengthy, and maybe we could come up with some kind of document that summarizes the points where they stand now.
okay. Jen, can I ask a question?
Sure.
It seems to me the LCP is comprised of citizens who, give all this input. But then there's the administrative planning department within the town of Barnstable. And it seems to me that a lot of the stuff that is, just irritating folks about, well, a whole bunch of things, but it seems to be emanating from the planning department. rather than the LCP. And I'm wondering if there's a disconnect there.
I think.
Yeah, sorry, no, like Bruce mentioned the Cape Cod Commission, like, what are they, why are they involved? That kind of scared me a little bit. Who's driving it? Who's driving it?
Well, actually, you can read the Cape Cod Commission draft housing strategy already. In fact, they even have maps. They've been shared at past meetings here, although not for quite a while, that, you know, literally have Osterville Center in the middle of a bullseye.
Yeah.
For economic development, you know, that encircles this whole area, you know, basically 2 miles.
Well,
Right.
unfortunately, our planning department is going right along with the Cape Cod Commission.
Correct.
So we've got to convince
Yeah.
our local comprehensive plan
Right.
to speak up for themselves and not let the planning department tell us how to word our plan. And I think that's what's
Exactly,
happening.
and that's why I think, you know, following in the footsteps of, you know, your efforts in getting the word out and getting things done and being loud and proud at times.
Yeah.
You know, I think we may need to take the same approach to get what we want, because I know that it's a long-term process, and we're talking about a final document in November 2025. But my fear is that by the time that document comes out, it'll be too late for us to really be, have enough input to make a difference. And I think the sooner we get started, the better. And hopefully, you know, as the shift in the approach of these, you know, community meetings changes from sticky notes to maybe more open conversation, we can accomplish some of that. But you know, my fear is that a lot of this has already been developed to the point where, you know, these strategies are mirroring each other, and there's doesn't seem to be a lot of additional flexibility, but we'll see.
Have you emailed your thoughts to the next meeting?
I have not.
Okay.
Not.
Did that, homework assignment. Yeah, it's all draft, but please do, or you and I could talk as well. Happy to sit down and go through stuff, and I'd love to do that. With anybody, really open to all of that. And I think the planning department and the outside consultant, they have really been sort of the facilitators of this process. Sort of helping the process go along in terms of just from a scheduling and planning standpoint.
It feels like they're trying to implement the commission's wishes
Yeah.
for change, and I think that echoes what Gail is saying, and that's disturbing.
And I think it all goes back to the commission not really asking for any input from anyone in the local community.
We wanna make it
We're
look like
creating
that.
a strategy.
And
And also, it seems to be like an ongoing problem, and that, you know, some of the decisions made by the town, you know, in the past, you know, 4 or 5 years, you know, haven't always had a lot of input from the community, and thankfully, the shift in town government seems to be changing a little bit at the council level. And, you know, a lot of your efforts have kind of triggered that, I think. But I think the time to be, you know, active in providing input, as Jen says, is now.
Yeah,
And I think the problem that we have is that we have a lot of interest in saving Craigville Beach and Dowses
Yeah.
Beach, and maybe it's a little late for Cobbles, but.
it was definitely late for COVID.
Yeah, but it's not too late for this.
No, that's right.
That's a great point, Bruce, and that, we definitely will pursue that. They get it on.
Just one comment. I guess I go back to when the whole process was even first discussed. The town had always before asked each individual village to actually put together how they felt. And so Jen, you know, you keep talking about how we have representatives on from the village, but what they're still trying to do is mesh it all into one. It seems to me like their opening statement about this whole plan should be the town of Barnstable has 7 villages, and here is how we would like to see each of the 7 villages, and again, go back to the old process, which would help, I think, everybody in every village know that this is the way their village is, and that's what makes Barnstable such a great place to live, is that they have unique villages, and here's the priority in each of the villages. And instead, and that has fallen on deaf ears, because I know John wrote a letter to that effect. We always, as a board, we actually had a plan as a village, that actually, if you go back and look at it, would still stand today, and I think the majority of people in this village would back that plan. And yet none of that has happened, and instead, this is what has gotten people so angst about this whole process, is it's all been tried to be pushed together as the town of Barnstable, forgetting the 7 villages, and they'll say to you, oh, but we will write, there will be a little bit of something in about the villages, we'll have that. It's not enough. It is, the town of Barnstable makes up 7 villages, each village is different. Here's a priority in each village based on what those villages are supposed to be. And that, overall, that's it. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And then give the opportunity to each village to develop their plan and how they want to see their village process.
When I applied to
It's,
be,
again, it's elementary.
when I
The
applied.
planning
to
department
become-
doesn't want to do it then.
Well, you know what?
That's wrong.
When I applied to become a member of the OBA, I read those. There were 2 available. I read both of the submissions to the town about long-term 10-year plan or whatever they were. I read the documents, and they were exceptionally well done. Both of them, even though they were, 15 years apart, I think they were. And, I remember when, the town came to give the first presentation about all this, I said, well, you did away with village plans. I had just asked a simple question, who decided that?
Exactly.
The town employees in theory work for us, right? But nobody asked us if we wanted to make this big shift from individual village plans to one townwide plan. It was just decided, and nobody really answered who decided.
Planning department decided.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a top-down approach that
yeah,
I think people all over Barnstable have resented greatly.
I agree.
So
So that's back to the town employees, so that they hear what is being said, and was said in the very beginning of this whole process, was said by this village,
That's right.
by letter.
Great point. Thanks.
Sorry. Okay,
sorry.
I get off my, yes, okay.
Bill, you have a comment?
I'm listening to a lot of very interesting things. Can you hear okay?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Something that we really, you're all very correct, that we really have to pay good attention to, because they intend to steamroll this thing through. And we also know that they desire, unfortunately, to have the commission approve the plan, and one of their stated goals is to plan in a manner that the Cape Cod Commission will adopt their proposal. Now, although I haven't really seen a lot in detail, but it has been said relative to the bullseye that they bear right in on our village with a circle around it. And I think we should pay good attention to that, because that is a specific village. So what you're all saying about this, they're doing the town, when they do that bullseye, that is our village, and they're talking about our village, and therefore we can bore right in on that perspective of the circle of what they're saying. And we should very adamantly, maybe you already have, very adamantly stay on top of it and say, we do not agree with that concept of turning that into one of the 3, so I can't get the right wording, but I'm going to say city type centers. So I think it is there, and one of the things that just was kind of running through my mind, since we do have a very healthy budget at the moment, we might consider investigating if we knew that there was a really excellent planning group, that we could get a high-quality individual and spend $3,000 to $5,000 and have that professional group, we could organize our attack. It's just a thing that flips into my mind, but thank you for recognizing that I'm here. Thank you.
Good to see. Thank you, Bill. Great comments.
Yeah.
Great meeting tonight, I thought. A lot of good discussion to be continued. Anyone else on? Did I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Absolutely adjourned.
Second, all those